The word of the day for today is stubbornness. That was the word that jumped out to me the most in a new article about why in the world is Kirk Cousins still on the Falcons roster. And you might be saying to yourself, why in the world are we still talking about Kirk Cousins? And listen, I'm guilty of this because I'm the one doing the talking right now. But at the same time, I do relate to all of you when it comes to I'm just sick and tired of seeing more Kirk Cousins stuff. But I am looking for an ending to this story. And with every new update we get, I feel like that at least gives us a better picture as to when that ending may come. Whether it's an ending of a trade, a release, or just he's staying put, and that's that. But right now it feels like it's very uneven ground as to what the future holds for the Falcons and number 18. But ESPN's Dan Graziano talked about some of the big questions that everyone's asking right now, including why the hell is Kirk Cousins still on the Falcons roster? And here's what he said, and the word stubbornness really jumped out to me in two ways. So here's what Graziano wrote. So why didn't the Falcons cut bait here? Stubbornness likely had something to do with it. They signed Cousins for $100 million in guaranteed money 14 months ago, and team ownership wasn't thrilled about the idea of releasing him after dueling out all that money for 14 not-so-great games in 2024. A couple of thoughts here, because I think surface level, that should not be very surprising. I don't look at that as like, we have the answer, stubbornness. But I do think that gives us a bit of a clue along the path of how is Kirk Cousins still on this team's roster with so much that has unfolded over the last couple of months. And the first thought I had when reading that was, how much did Arthur Blank meddle? Right? Dan's talking about how much money they gave him for 14 not-so-great games. And I'm starting to think about it as more of a buyer than as a customer. And I wonder if Arthur Blank told Terry and told Raheem, I didn't just give this guy $100 million for you to release him after one season. I hired you guys to put together the best roster and then to coach that roster. You asked for Kirk Cousins. I gave you the money for it. Now you're going to figure it out. And from one perspective, I can understand how an owner would feel like that. He gave a lot of money. He probably doesn't want to cut bait that quickly. On the other hand, I mean, what's done is done. It was a bad decision looking back, but two wrongs don't make a right. Holding on to Kirk as a hostage just because you made a bad decision to sign him in the first place doesn't make that signing any better. So I think what we might be seeing here is some stubbornness from Arthur Blank, because Kirk Cousins met with Arthur. And now that I think about that meeting, I really start to wonder, was that meeting done because Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris told Kirk, listen, dude, we have no issue with trading you or releasing you, but we don't have permission to do so. The big man, El Jefe, Arthur Blank, he said, you're stuck here. So if you want to go somewhere else, we're fine to do that. The issue is we don't have permission from above. So our suggestion would be go talk to Arthur yourself. Try and get permission from him. Reason with him. And if he signs off on it, we'll get moving on a trade. Just a theory. Just a theory. More from Graziano. And when it came time to talk trade, and the Falcons were asking interested teams to pay a significant portion of that remaining $37.5 million in guaranteed money. This to me just seems more of like reasoning and evidence to believe my theory of Arthur Blank is meddling, and if there is going to be some type of move, the only way you're going to get Blank on board is if this new team takes on a lot of that guaranteed cash to Kirk. I think Blank is looking at this from a business perspective. And maybe that's not even the best way to phrase it, because you could say it's good business to move on from Kirk. Businesses do that all the time where they just cut bait. So how about blank is looking at this from, I gave him $100 million perspective. That's probably the most straightforward way to say, I gave him that much money. I didn't give him that much money for 14 games. So either someone else is going to pay some of that money, or he's staying put, and you guys got to figure it out. My theory. As for the sunk cost already, Kirk's got a 2025 cap hit of $40 million. Michael Penix, FYI, is $5.2 million. So that comes out to $45.2 million, give or take a few $100,000. It's not a small amount, but it's not an inconceivable amount. And also, we're at the stage of the offseason now where, yeah, it's a huge cap hit for your backup, but you've already figured out your finances. I don't think Terry Fontenot's going to wake up tomorrow and be like Catherine O'Hara from Home Alone 2 of like, we did it again, like, oh my God, screaming, Kirk's got a $40 million cap hit. That's not new information. They've already made all their roster moves this offseason, knowing that. It's not like because they release him now, they call Grady Jarrett up and go, funny story. We've got the room now. Come on back. Pack your shit up in Chicago. You're moving back south. So, while it is a huge number for your backup quarterback, what's done is done. Could you have operated differently knowing you wouldn't have Kirk Cousins on your books? Yes and no. In a vacuum, yes, but you still have the dead money. And that wasn't going to change, whether he's on your roster or not. You could designate him as a post-June 1 release, and that would have given you some cap savings. But you don't get those cap savings until after June 1st. That doesn't help you out in March when you want to spend that money. All right, before we move on to the second half of today's episode, who do you think is closer to a championship? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. Like, going into the year, like, let's say the MLB season, I would say the Braves for sure. I picked them to win the division. But with them getting off to a slow start this year, and the Falcons, I feel like, kind of having a little bit of like a momentum in the offseason, do you think Atlanta is going to get a Super Bowl parade before another World Series parade? I want to say Braves still, but if Penix is the guy, he can turn things around real quick. We see that all the time in the NFL. Remember at the beginning I said the word of the day is stubbornness? There's another reason why I picked this word for today, and it's not just because of Arthur Blank. Well, not just because of Kirk Cousins and Arthur Blank. I saw this comment from D. Will, who said, we'll never forgive Terry for sabotaging the Bill Belichick hire. So I'm going to bring back the word stubbornness for two people, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Blank. But this time it's actually probably for the better, because for their stubbornness, it led to Atlanta not pursuing Bill Belichick, right? Fontenot did not want to have someone come in that was going to either clean house in a way or reduce Fontenot's role or roster control. And so because of that stubbornness from Blank and Fontenot to not embrace a dramatic change and really shake things up, now they don't have to deal with Jordan, as PMT called her, right? They don't have to have the circus that is Bill Belichick and his girlfriend parading around social media and anywhere with a camera and getting a lot of bad publicity and making UNC fans really wonder, is this guy even going to be here for TCU in week 1? So that stubbornness, well, it might be, hurting you right now because Arthur Blank won't move on from Kirk Cousins and is insistent on holding on to a hostage. That same stubbornness might have avoided Atlanta having to deal with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend Jordan. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Having said all that, I'll go back to what the point I wanted to make earlier, which is when it comes to Raheem Morris and, whether or not this is the right guy for the job anyway, I'm not willing to make a definitive decision on Raheem just yet. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to excuse some of the malpractices he had in his first season. Timeout being one. Also, hiring 2 coordinators to be play callers that had no experience as play callers. That's a bit of a red flag. Raheem's been a head coach before, but it was nearly 15 years ago. He should have brought someone in that had a little bit more experience. Instead, he rolled with Jimmy Lake, a buddy of his from LA, who had Judon dropping in coverage. And you can see what Judon had to say about that in an article that came out last week. But the stubbornness, I guess, avoided Belichick and Jordan to Atlanta. I mean, we have no idea if things would have been the same with that duo in Atlanta versus going to college. But if they don't break up, fair to say there probably would have been some turbulence with that power couple coming down to the Atlanta Falcons organization. So would you rather have Belichick or Raheem Morris? Knowing what you know right now, right? Would you stick with Raheem after year 1? Or knowing what you know about Belichick and his baggage, would you rather go with that? For me, I think I want to go with Belichick. The baggage is not good. But I feel like Raheem Morris in year 1 underachieved. And it's only year 1, so like I said, I'm not going to make definitive, sweeping conclusions. But those were mistakes that kind of terrify me. The inability to manage the clock. If you told that to a Bears fan about Matt Eberflus in his first year in Chicago, they could tell you he'll figure it out. He never did. That's what cost him his job ultimately. He got fired after the Thanksgiving loss in Detroit when they had a timeout and they let time expire. So that's a major red flag. Like one that's hard to just chalk up to, just an accident. Because it happened not once but twice in the same game at the end of the half. That paired with a shaky DC hire at best. And then an offensive coordinator hire that got better as the season went along. But that week 1 game plan for Pittsburgh was atrocious. It was so predictable. When Kirk was in the pistol, they did that. When Kirk was in the pistol, they ran it. When he was in the shotgun, they threw it. And as the game went along, it didn't take hard for opposing defenses to know what was coming at them. So those are red enough flags for me to go, yeah, I think I'd want to see what's behind door number 2. Before we sign off, I do have a show update. Friday, May 23rd will be my last day at Chat Sports and my last day on Falcons Today. I've decided to make a complete career change altogether, so I'll be leaving the sports media industry. It's a new passion, it's a passion of mine with a new opportunity that was presented to me that I'm very excited for, but obviously a very bittersweet type of announcement to make because I've loved what I've done over the last 4 years, and I've loved talking about this team with you. So we'll have another week or so, but unfortunately, my time at Falcons Today, my watch will be ending soon. And I don't know what's in store next for the channel, for the host and whatnot, but we'll have some more announcements and a bigger breakdown on the entire thing on the 23rd. But let me just say right now, thank you to everyone who has been with us, for a month, a year, 2 years, however long you've been subscribed to the channel or viewing our content for. I really appreciate all the love and support you've shown. All right, to wrap it all up here, if you want to get a Jalen Walker jersey, if you want to get a James Pierce jersey, they're still available at Fanatics when you go to chatsports.com/ATL rookies. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. Really appreciate those of you that support the channel by using this link, chatsports.com/ATL rookies.